Right now, the Middle East is teetering on the absolute edge of a full-scale, devastating regional war. Recent, highly surgical, and unprecedented strikes deep inside the capital city of Tehran have eliminated top-tier leaders of Iran's proxy networks, exposing a shocking vulnerability in the country's internal security. The world is watching, waiting for a massive retaliation, and wondering if the United States and its allies will finally be dragged into a direct boots-on-the-ground conflict with the Islamic Republic. But despite the incredible tension, the fiery rhetoric, and the undeniable fact that Iran has been a massive geopolitical headache for the Western world for nearly half a century, no Western superpower has actually launched a conventional ground invasion. Why? With the overwhelming might of the US military and the absolute vulnerability of Iran's internal intelligence network exposed, why is a direct territorial conquest still considered an apocalyptic military blunder? The answer is not just politics, it is geology. Welcome back to US Geography. Today we are analyzing the ultimate graveyard of empires. We are going to break down how Iran has used its towering mountains, burning deserts, and two massive oceanic choke points to survive for thousands of years. We will explore how their geography forced them to build a shadow empire, and why, despite having a target on their back, the map of Iran makes it the ultimate unconquerable fortress. To understand the sheer resilience of Iran, you have to look at its placement on the global map. Iran occupies one of the most vital, historically contested pieces of real estate on the planet. It sits directly at the geographical crossroads of three major continents: Europe, Africa, and Asia. Because of this incredibly lucrative position, virtually every single superpower in human history has looked at a map and decided they needed to conquer Persia. The Romans tried, the Arabs tried, the Mongols, the Turks, the Russian Empire, and the British Empire all attempted to subdue, occupy, or control this specific landmass. Yet, despite centuries of relentless invasions from the world's most terrifying armies, Iran has essentially maintained its current recognizable borders for the last 500 years. Today, it is a massive nation sharing land borders with 7 different countries: Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Turkmenistan to the east, and Iraq, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan to the west. It also commands access to 3 highly strategic bodies of water, but having a lot of neighbors usually means having a lot of vulnerabilities. So how has a nation with so many exposed borders survived the crosshairs of global superpowers? They survive because their borders aren't just lines on a map, they are towering, impassable walls of solid rock. The ultimate defensive shield of the Iranian nation lies on its western and southern flanks, the Zagros Mountains. This is not just a standard mountain range, it is a sprawling, violently rugged, and heavily fractured expanse of stone that stretches continuously from the border of Turkey in the north, all the way down the Iraqi border and along the coastline of the Persian Gulf. This mountain range provides a level of natural geographical protection that billions of dollars of military spending simply cannot buy. It is an absolute nightmare for mechanized warfare. We know this for a geographic fact because it was put to the ultimate test in 1980, fueled by the fear that the 1979 Iranian Revolution would spill over the borders and topple neighboring Arab monarchies. Saddam Hussein launched a massive, heavily armed invasion of Iran, was backed by regional powers. Saddam's strategy seemed logical: push across the flat border, capture the exposed, oil-rich Khuzestan province, and then drive deeper into the country to crush the new regime. But the Iraqi tanks hit the Zagros Mountains and effectively stopped dead. The terrain was too rocky, the passes were too narrow, and the high ground was completely controlled by Iranian defenders. For 8 brutal years, the Iraqi army threw everything they had at those mountains and failed to break through. However, the Zagros Mountains are a double-edged sword. While they prevented Iraq from conquering Iran, they also prevented Iran from effectively supplying its own troops. Because Iran's major population centers and supply depots were located on the other side of the mountain range, getting food, fuel, and ammunition to the front line was a geographical nightmare. The war ended after 8 years with over 1 million casualties, and the border did not move a single inch. The mountains simply would not allow it. If the west is blocked by the Zagros, the north is equally impenetrable. Hugging the southern coastline of the Caspian Sea is the Alborz Mountain range. This massive, towering wall of rock not only acts as a physical barrier, preventing any invasion from the north or the Russian sphere of influence, but it also serves as a gargantuan geographical vault. These mountain ranges are not just defensive barriers, they are heavily loaded with the raw materials necessary to run a modern war machine. The bedrock of Iran is exceptionally rich in uranium, silver, gold, and zinc. In fact, Iran possesses some of the largest untapped zinc and mineral reserves on the entire planet, buried safely beneath millions of tons of stone. And as the 20th century dawned, Iran's geography handed it the ultimate geopolitical lottery ticket. Massive. Such unprecedented reserves of crude oil and natural gas were discovered pooling beneath the Persian Gulf and the southwestern plains. Today, despite decades of crushing international sanctions, this geography holds roughly 10% of the world's proven oil reserves and a staggering 15% of the planet's natural gas. The mountains provide the shield, and the ground provides the endless wealth required to fund a military apparatus capable of defying the Western world. But let us play the ultimate game of military hypothetical. Let us assume that a modern 21st century coalition army, utilizing unmatched American air power and massive ground forces, somehow breaches the Zagros Mountains in the west or the Alborz Mountains in the north. They push past the rocky defenses and enter the interior of the country. Do they win? Absolutely not, because lying in wait behind the mountain walls is the second layer of Iran's geographical defense. The massive apocalyptic deserts of the interior, the Dasht-e, Kavir, and the Dasht-e Lut. The Dasht-e Lut is not just a standard desert, it is scientifically recognized as one of the most hostile, unlivable environments in the solar system. In 2005, satellite sensors recorded land surface temperatures in the Lut Desert hitting an unimaginable 70 degrees Celsius, or 159 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a vast, burning wasteland of salt, sand, and jagged rock. If an invading army managed to cross the mountains, they would then have to stretch their supply lines across hundreds of miles of this geographical black hole. Tanks would overheat and seize. Soldiers would drop from heat stroke within hours, and helicopters would be shredded by the abrasive, swirling salt storms. Conquering the perimeter of Iran is difficult. Surviving the center of Iran is mathematically impossible for a massive invading force. Because an overland invasion is geographically suicidal, the focus of any conflict with Iran naturally shifts to the sea. Iran commands a massive 2,500-kilometer continuous coastline that borders the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. This coastline gives Iran the ultimate geopolitical leverage over the entire globe. Just 70 kilometers across the water from their massive seaport of Bandar Abbas lies the Strait of Hormuz. As we have discussed in previous videos, this incredibly narrow geographical choke point is the absolute jugular of the global economy. Roughly 20% of the entire world's oil supply and 15% of its natural gas must squeeze through this tiny stretch of water to reach the markets of Europe and Asia. Iran controls the entire northern coastline of this strait. Furthermore, they control a highly strategic chain of islands situated right at the mouth of the waterway. If the United States or its allies were to ever launch a direct regime-ending attack on Iranian soil, Iran's immediate geographic response would be to heavily mine the strait and use their coastal mountains to launch anti-ship missiles, completely blocking the waterway. The moment that happens, the global energy market collapses, triggering a worldwide economic depression. This single geographical reality is the primary reason the US military has not launched a full-scale invasion. So, Iran is safe from invasion, but survival is not the same as power. Geographically, Iran is trapped. The 1979 revolution drastically changed the geopolitical landscape. Prior to 1979, Iran was a liberalizing nation and a massive, heavily armed ally of the United States and Israel, but the new regime completely severed those ties, declaring Israel their absolute mortal enemy. This created a massive geographical problem for Tehran. They want to project power and threaten Israel, but Israel is over 1,000 miles away, and sitting directly between them is a massive block of Arab nations that are highly suspicious, if not outright hostile, to the Iranian regime. You cannot march an Iranian army across Iraq, Syria, and Jordan without starting World War III. To solve this geographical isolation, Iran developed the ultimate asymmetric strategy, the axis of resistance. Because they could not physically reach their enemies, they began heavily funding, arming, and training militant groups that were already located directly on their enemies' borders. They built a shadow empire. They armed Hezbollah in the mountains of Lebanon to sit directly on Israel's northern border. They funded factions in Syria and Iraq. They essentially used the geography of other weaker nations as forward operating bases to project Iranian power without ever risking Iranian soil. This strategy evolved beautifully into controlling a second massive global choke point. Iran already held the Strait of Hormuz in the north, but they needed more leverage, so they looked thousands of miles to the south, to the country of Yemen. Yemen sits directly on the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the narrow waterway connecting the Red Sea to the Indian Ocean. Every single cargo ship traveling through the Suez Canal must pass this point. By heavily arming the Houthi forces located in the rugged mountains of western Yemen, Iran effectively gained control of a second global artery. When conflict erupted in Gaza, Iran didn't need to send its own troops. They simply gave the order, and proxy forces in Lebanon began raining rockets into northern Israel, while forces in Yemen began launching drones at American and commercial ships in the Red Sea. Through the brilliant manipulation of regional geography and proxy warfare, Iran has effectively managed to choke the global supply chain from two completely different points on the map, all while claiming plausible deniability. This proxy strategy also exposes a terrifying flaw in the American way of war: asymmetric economics. Iran knows it cannot compete with the trillion-dollar defense budget of the United States, so they use geography and cheap manufacturing to bankrupt their enemies. Iran boasts the largest and most advanced arsenal of ballistic missiles and attack drones in the entire Middle East, with ranges exceeding 2,000 kilometers. But the true danger is the cost. In early 2024, as Iranian-backed forces in Yemen launched relentless waves of suicide drones at commercial shipping in the Red Sea, the Western response was highly revealing. To shoot down a single Iranian-designed Shahed drone, which costs roughly $20,000 to manufacture, Allied forces like the French and the Americans were forced to fire highly advanced, all surface-to-air interceptor missiles that cost upwards of $1 million each. By hiding cheap mobile launch systems in the rugged mountains of Yemen and Lebanon, Iranian proxies are forcing the West to spend millions of dollars to destroy tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. It is a geographical and economic war of attrition that the United States cannot sustainably fight forever. But the map is not invincible. While mountains and deserts can stop an armored division of tanks, they cannot stop everything. The recent shocking events of 2024 and 2026 have proven that Iran has a massive, glaring vulnerability. When high-ranking proxy leaders are eliminated by highly sophisticated surgical strikes while sleeping in secure compounds directly inside the capital city of Tehran, the illusion of total security shatters. It proves that while the external geographical borders of Iran are a fortress, the internal intelligence apparatus is highly compromised. The United States and its allies have realized that you do not need to send an army across the Zagros Mountains to hurt the regime. You can use advanced stealth technology, cyber warfare, and highly embedded human intelligence networks to bypass the geography entirely. 1. The physical map of Iran protects it from conventional war, but in the modern age of surgical, invisible warfare, even the deepest mountain bunkers are no longer truly safe. When you look at the complete geographical picture, Iran is a masterpiece of natural defense. It is a nation shielded by impenetrable mountain ranges, guarded by apocalyptic burning deserts, and fortified by massive strategic coastlines that hold the entire global economy at gunpoint. Their brilliant, ruthless use of proxy forces and cheap asymmetric drone warfare has allowed them to project power thousands of miles away, turning the geography of the entire Middle East into their own personal shield. But as recent events have violently shown, geography is only one half of the equation. A fortress is only as strong as the people guarding the gates from the inside. As internal instability grows and surgical strikes pierce the heart of the capital, the ultimate question remains: how will Iran retaliate, and can their ancient, unyielding geography protect them from the highly advanced, invisible wars of the 21st century? Only time will tell. Thank you for watching US Geography. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the map of the Middle East, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and let me know in the comments below what region of the world we should break down next. I'll see you again next week.